2012 to 2017, against all logic. This is Nicholas Jar's side project. It has kind of a house club-esque flavor to it. But while Nicholas has been known to produce some pretty loose, sporadic, and at times minimalist work in the past, this album is definitely a lot fuller in sound, meaning it's gonna appeal to a wider range of people, and although he hasn't really delved much into this genre in the past, it's clear he has a pretty solid handle on it. And I feel like every single time I listen to this thing, I like it a little bit better. There's so many new details to notice. It's so intricate and packed with things to discover, and it definitely has a certain elegance and sophistication to the way that it's produced. The use of vocal samples on this thing is so effective too. It adds so much to the chilling atmosphere of the project. And make no mistake, while this is an electronic album primarily, we're getting these influences from soul and funk and jazz even at points, and it's all coming together pretty flawlessly, to say the least. It's also just really important for the genre, considering the past 10 years most of the house music that's come out has been extremely difficult to listen to and just dull and uninventive, but this album kind of takes mainstream radio-friendly sounds and rearranges them, reworks them into this beautiful, compelling trip. And I feel like I can explain the mood of this album in one of two ways if you bear with me. The first being you're at some sort of party or social gathering and you're super drunk or wasted and you're just stumbling around super out of it just thinking about that one person that you're in love with. Or you're driving home at 3 a.m. after having been out of town and there are no cars on the highway and you're just staring straight into the distance thinking about the universe. I don't know though, something about this album just screams night drive, and I admit that that might partially be because the other day I was driving back after having been out back at home and I was pretty much out of gas, so I didn't really want to spend the money on refilling it considering I was going to come back to New York in a day, but I just randomly had this desire to listen to this album and drive straight north on the highway and just let it all sink in. So I just put $10 in my tank and did it, and I would definitely recommend doing that because it made me see this thing in a whole different light. I Never Dream might be the best track on this album with its hazy drumming and vocal samples. It's chillingly beautiful and elegant. Hopeless is unlike anything I've ever heard before, with the bass and the synths that kind of shuffle around next to this overpowering in-your-face drumming. City Fade is just a beautiful clusterfuck of sounds, or at least it builds up into one, and I love the fact that there are subtle little samples from city life worked into this thing. And speaking of samples, how the hell did the I Am a God sample work on such a bad way? Like, how does that fit in so perfectly? It's fucking beyond me, but this album just can do so much, and Now You Got Me Hooked kind of takes a jazzier angle. I love the ringing, punchy horns and guitars on this thing, and the vocals on this thing definitely feel very soul influenced. And when I was talking about that drive before, the bass on Flash in the Pan must have killed my eardrums. Like, I always turn up the volume way too loud and then just become accustomed to it, and then I reach a point where it's like all the way up and I think that it's not loud enough. Like, that's probably so fucking damaging to my ears. If I ever can't hear you, I do it to myself. Anyway, the song's cloud of bass and murky synths and drums are so heart-thumping and overpowering. Another chillingly beautiful moment is the muffled pianos and vocal samples in Some Kind of Game that kind of fade in and out and create this gorgeous cloud of atmosphere. On Rave on You, I love how the pitch of the synths is being kind of played with throughout the track until distortion slowly overtakes it in the end. And this track definitely has a very pleasant, melancholy feel to it that I really love. While a lot of these tracks clock in at between 5 and 9 minutes, they feel so concise and to the point, and there's never a moment when you're gonna be bored. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a 9. I mean, I was planning on an 8.5, but I don't really think I could justify giving it an 8.5. The only criticism that I have for this thing, and it's a slight problem, is its length. I feel like since we're hearing a lot of the same sounds being used, even though in every single track they're incorporated in a new, interesting way, it does get a little tiring on the ears once you're like 3/4 of the way through the project. I guess I can only take so much of the house club kind of feel at once, but still, for the most part, I fucking love this thing. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe. I just hit 50 subs. Huge milestone, am I right? No, but actually, thank you for having subscribed and having gotten this far in this video. I'll get my shit together this week. I swear to God.